How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. All the better for seeing you.
Yeah, that's a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much for your time. It's not often that you get to meet someone who is so inspiring, like
Oh, well, thank
it
you.
off the record. And I'd be remiss if I didn't show you my tat.
We have a mutual friend, and I was told to ask to see the tattoo,
Oh,
and
really?
then you
Simon.
offered it up. You offered it up anyway. Lisa, hold
Lisa
tight.
Coverdale.
Yeah,
She was on to me earlier.
yeah. She just sent me an Instagram message.
No way.
She's like asked to see the tattoo.
I
So, but I didn't have to. You just offered it up. It looks great.
well, I was like, I'd be so annoyed if I didn't show you, you know,
That's amazing. That's so
after
cool.
getting it done, you know.
Oh yeah, let me forgot to okay your thing here. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm always like very yeah, very flattered when people choose to immortalize the band on their flesh, you know. It's
It,
always
yeah,
interesting to
well,
see.
I mean,
So cool.
Colors is like my top 20 album of all time. Like,
Oh, well,
it's
thank you very
it's
much.
incredible. And I had the pleasure to see you ArcTangent playing it in full. How was that?
Oh, we had a blast. Yeah, it was a little stressful that first day, the Colors Day, because we had some audio issues um, with some rental equipment that we were using. But we got it just in the nick of time. We got everything working, and we were able to play the show, and it went fine. But we had a blast both days. Actually,
Yeah,
was so much fun. Such a cool festival.
yeah,
Just the way it's curated with so much diversity, and it's just such an eclectic. Festival, and I love the size of it. It's not
yeah,
like overwhelmingly big. You can kind of go to all the stages without, having to walk, 10
yeah,
miles or whatever.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Exactly,
just a
exactly.
very, very cool festival. And of course, we love the band Mew, so we were super excited to see Mew live.
Did you see
So
any other
yeah, it was
bands
just
there that
great.
you wanted to see?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Did you see any other bands that you wanted to see there?
Um, no, we didn't really have time because of just our schedule. Mew was like the one band that we really wanted to see. I really wanted to see Carnival, but we had to leave before they played.
Ah,
I wanted to see our buddies in Tesseract the following day, but we had to leave again because we had to like fly back to France. So I didn't really get to see a lot of bands that I wanted to see, but there were obviously so many cool ones.
yeah,
Did get to see Sleepy Time, Gorilla Museum.
yeah.
We did get to see them. We saw them at a few of the festivals over there, and they're super nice and also just a great band. Um, such a kind of an inspiring, influential
Do you
band
know?
for
Do
us,
you
I
know
think,
what?
because
I was actually stood with We Lost the Sea watching Sleepy Gorilla Time, and I had no idea how inspirational they were on other bands. That band.
yeah, they're just one of those experimental kind of bands. They've been around forever, and they've just sort of pushed the envelope in a way that I think, us for sure, and then obviously a lot of other kind of bands in the progressive realm have sort of taken some cues from them. Maybe not directly, but just like that approach to songwriting and experimentation and just the spirit of being different. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're certainly
I mean
icons in that
the
respect.
the set the colors like I now I've been to Arctangent 4 years in a row now, but colors was I saw you actually supporting Tesseract here in Dublin about
Uh-huh.
6, 7 years ago, maybe something like
Yeah,
that.
2018, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, good memory.
With Pliny.
Yes, with Pliny as well. Yeah, exactly. That was the first time I ever saw you live, and then when I heard you were playing Art Tangent, Colors in Full, and the second set, I was like, I'm going. But the best thing about Colors was there was so many people, nationalities in there, and everyone was singing every word and just hugging each other, and during Answer the Sky, that part, and it was just
Yeah.
such a lovely moment for everyone.
Yeah, that's so great. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's cool about, the festivals and just especially playing like colors all the way through. It's become sort of just a nostalgia piece,
Yeah,
for so many people. And it has a way of like kind of bringing people together and then, combine that the nature of festivals, which you have people coming from all over the place. Um, yeah, very cool. And it's the same for us on stage too, because we can kind of feel that energy.
Good.
So even though the songs, it's like, oh, we've played these songs a gazillion times,
Yeah.
that there's always like a new magic to them when you can play them in that type of setting and see that kind of reaction and feel that reaction and feel that energy in that tent. Really was amazing for us. And we had always heard great things about ArcTangent, and it certainly lived up to the hype for us. So we
Oh,
really enjoyed
amazing.
it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But you've got a new album coming out now as well,
We
which is out
do.
Friday.
Yeah,
Friday,
it's
isn't
coming.
it?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's about to happen.
And I don't know how this feels for you being in the band, but considering there was 4 years between Colours 2 and the latest one, it seems rather quick in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Do
mean,
you
I
feel
think
that?
a lot of people are like, well, it's the longest break between albums, but for us it didn't seem like that long. It seemed pretty quick because, with COVID and everything, it
Yeah.
like delayed the tour cycle for Colors 2 like almost a year. Um so our perception was much different. I think it did seem quick for us,
Hmm.
it felt like Colors 2 does not seem that long ago.
No,
But
well, it was 4 years, wasn't it?
yeah, 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Although, of course most of it was written in 2020s, but yeah, I mean, it's not terribly long ago, and it doesn't seem like long ago at all. Um, yeah, but again, that was like such a weird time, with the
Yeah.
pandemic and
It's like
everything.
that
So it's
time
just
that
like,
doesn't count almost.
exactly.
Like,
It's like there's some sort of time warp that
yeah,
happened
yeah,
where it's
yeah.
like you just lost all perception. It's just like a year just got flushed down the toilet or something. Uh, but yeah, it felt like, honestly, it felt pretty normal. I mean, I think by the time when it was time to start writing the Blue Nowhere, like we were all kind of ready to write. It felt our sort of, biologically, it just felt like, yeah, it's time to write a new record. So everything felt very natural. Um, and it didn't feel like we were rushed to write a record or anything, and it also didn't feel like it'd been a decade since we wrote a record. It just felt like a very normal time. It felt like we had completed kind of the Colors 2 tour cycle, had wound down and everything, and it was time to get back in the old laboratory and try to write some music. So
Is it, is
it was
it,
just
is
a
it,
very, very easy process.
sorry, I was just about to say the process wise, I mean, I don't want to put an age on you, but you've been going quite a while now as a band. Like when it
That's
comes to
true.
new records, is it easy for you now? Like in terms of, I assume that you've got the production mixing all that nailed down, and it's just I'd say even like as musicians now, you just must have so many ideas, like from previous albums that maybe end up on the cutting room floor, or some new ones that
Sure.
you hummed in bed one night, or something like that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's never a shortage of ideas because, we all are contributing. We're all writing music individually, and we always have, there's always ideas that are already there. So when we start the process of writing a new record, it's like, I had idea. I mean, they're like most of Absent Thereafter I wrote like 10 years ago during the
Mm.
Automata writing sessions. It just never felt right for
Yeah,
for
yeah.
Automata or Colors 2. So it was like kind of that was in the vault, and so you bust things like that back out. And Dan had us things we tell ourselves in the dark. Dan had demoed that like a year ago, or from the time we started. So he had that in his vault, and you start sending those things that you've already got, and then before you know it, the ball starts rolling and it starts inspiring everybody. And then there's just a sort of a explosion of output like from everybody. And then before you know it, you just have so much material to work with, which is a great thing. And then, we've kind of become sort of a well-oiled machine
Yeah.
as far as like, assembling ideas and building from small ideas, and kind of expanding on them and building something, and finding like a flow from not only within each song but like from song to song, and it happens very organically. I mean, that's kind of a cliche thing to say, but it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it just sort of we've just sort of gotten to a flow where it just kind of happens. And I think that, I mean, it's evolved. We definitely write differently, but now that we're older, like you said, we've been at it for a long time. And back in the old days, like Colors was very much like we were kind of in the same room, like hashing out some
Yeah.
riffs and stuff like that. Well, it's not like that anymore. Everybody lives different places. Like we're doing it remotely. We're sending ideas through email or whatever, and and so that part is a little different. But we've been doing that for enough albums now that that's become like a very easy process for us. We all kind of have adapted to it, and it works really well for us. It allows us to kind of not only as individuals when we write our music, our parts, our songs, whatever, we can sit there and reflect on them and fine tune them and flesh them out as much as we want before we present them to the group, which is a nice thing.
Yeah.
And then that allows us to kind of start like the beginnings of the song building process are already in a slightly more polished state. It's not just a raw, here's a
Yeah.
riff, like now it's more like here's kind of a section or here's a whole song, here's the skeleton of a song, and then we can sort of start building from there. So we've just gotten good at, I guess, feeding off of one another and it's kind of like a very efficient process for us. So this album was no different. It was just a very kind of smooth, pretty much smooth sailing.
Was what the the running order of the album I'm interested in. So I've listened to the album numerous times so far, and but from what I when I was listening to it, it's a very, as you'd expect from between Bury Me Album, it's never you never know what's going to come, and like like the title track, it comes right at the end of the album. It's like the penultimate track, I think, and I didn't see that coming so late in the
Yeah,
album. I'd have had it. Sorry, not I would have. I
sure,
would have thought it'd have been earlier on the album. But
sure,
then
yeah.
you've got like God Terror, which is like almost like a thrash death metal opening, and just the way the album is set out. Was there a bit of a struggle in there trying to get the layout?
I wouldn't say there was a struggle. I mean, I think a lot of it kind of presented itself as we wrote. Although, the last track, Beautifully Human, like that was definitely kind of written like, okay, we have some ideas that we think could be the end of the
Yeah,
album, and so we kind of purposely were like, this is going to be the album closer. Um, Everything else just kind of like originally Things We Tell Ourselves in the Dark was not going to be the first track, but it just felt kind of cool to like just
yeah,
start the record with something totally different, rather, we typically write records that sort of start with something very minimalistic and build, and we thought it'd be kind of cool to just come right out of the gates with something that's like kind of quirky and groovy. So we ended up doing that, and but yeah, everything else like a lot of it's like, well, this song ends in this key and this song kind of starts in that key. We can build, we try to look for like really smooth ways to go from song to song. And so when we do that, like the running order starts to kind of present itself. Um, and then of course we're always looking for like just a dynamic flow that works because we want the listening to the album to be kind of an immersive like
yeah. Of course.
experience. We want people. It's written so people will listen to the whole thing, right? Um, and so we try to organize it and have a flow so that like you know after God Terror, which is a very intense song,
Yeah,
like and it's like well we have that kind of synthy kind of noisy section after it, right? That's like a minute long or whatever before Absent Thereafter, because Absent Thereafter also starts very like intense. So we're trying to give the listener like wait, some space to kind of breathe and
yeah,
whatnot. And then, so a lot of the interlude tracks, I think, serve that purpose. And then, of course, by the time you get to Psychomantium and Slow Paranoia, it's like back to back, just epic kind of long songs that are very intense. A lot going on in both of those songs. And then it just felt like, after that, it was time to kind of like bring everything down a little bit. And so that's when, we felt like, well, Blue Nowhere would really fit well there. And then for the last track, Beautifully Human, like, again, we wanted to do, I mean, it's epic in some ways, but in some ways it's also like, in the context of BTBAM, it's another sort of it shows a little bit of restraint, right? It's not White Walls, it's not Swim to the Moon, you know what I mean? It's not like this grandiose thing, but
yeah.
in some ways, at least what we think as songwriters, as artists, is that it still has a little bit of that grandiosity, but in a way that's a little less overwhelming to the senses. It has an epic quality without um, being just totally over the top. You know what I mean? There's a little bit of restraint there, and so we feel like in the context of the record, like it just it has these like dynamic shifts that work. So as a fan of music, I like to listen to albums like that that are
Yeah.
that take you on a little bit of that journey. You know what I mean? And you can't have like too much intensity at one time. It gets a little much, even for fans of bands like us. So
Yeah.
we like to kind of bring it down and then bring it back up and then speed it up, slow it down, all that stuff. So yeah, the running order is kind of reflective of that goal. You know what I mean? So that's
And
how we put that
just you,
over.
you touched on there saying about the album's meant to be listened to in full. Um, I think that's well certainly in this realm of the genre is how albums should be. Like you listen to Tool in its entirety, an Opeth album, etc., etc. Um, Obviously you're on a record label, so Mike, I always like to ask questions like these: is singles like one? Do you like them? either either as an artist or as a listener of one of your favorite bands, and B, it must be very hard to pick a single from these 10 tracks.
It is, yeah. I don't know how I feel about singles in our world. I think ideally I would love to just put out the record and
Yeah,
and maybe not. I mean, I understand the purpose of them from a marketing standpoint and all that stuff. I mean, doing three singles to me is like, wow, that's a little much. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
sort of, I don't know, but I totally get it. I don't know. I'm a little on the fence about them, like as a concept. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
but again, I totally get it. I think for us picking them, I mean, we know we have to put out singles. Um, we knew that we wanted to do things we tell ourselves in the dark because honestly, we wanted to do it because we knew it would be, or we thought it would be like pretty divisive. That some fans would
Right.
be like, what the hell is this? You know what I mean? But then other fans, would be like, oh, this is great. Always come bringing something unexpected to the table. I mean, I think the response was far more positive than I even thought it would be. But yeah, we kind of wanted something that would just catch people off guard a little bit, for better or worse. And I think it served that purpose. It got people talking, and and you know the love it or hate it. Like I said, people were kind of talking about, hey, this new song is so it's weird. It's 80s. It's got some pop kind of sensibilities to it. It's weird, right? It's not maybe as heavy as what some would expect. Um and then I certainly wanted to. I thought if we're going to release three singles, I felt like the second one had to be Absent Thereafter, just because it was a little bit more of a even though it's still a pretty weird song, it was a little more in the BTBAM box. You know what I mean? So like that one, I think would. I was like, well, that'll settle down the haters a little bit from the first track. They'll be like, oh, well, here's this sounds like BTBAM, and but still peak some more interest. And then
Which sorry to just on that track
sure,
specifically, very much reminded me of Voice of Trespass at times with that sort of westerny sort of twang to it in places.
sure, yeah, sort of that kind of like groovy, swingy kind
Yeah,
of rock and
exactly.
roll, like yeah, that sort of vibe, sort of built around sort of a blues scale, sort of, which is fun, and it's very much in my DNA. I mean, I love music like that. I love bluegrass music and blues, and so yeah, I wanted to, I was like, well, let's write a song that sounds like if Danny Gatton and Brent Mason and Eddie Van Halen wrote a metal song. I was like that would
Quite
be
nice.
cool, right? So that was kind of what I was going for, and I think that's kind of how it ended up. But yeah, so I felt like we had to do that. It was actually like a little bit of a the label actually was kind of like, well, it's a long song. Do we want to release a song that's that long? And I was like, we got to do it. Like I felt like I know our fans well enough to know that like that's one that we should put in the mix, especially knowing that the third single was going to be the title track, which I knew was going to be like people were going to be super weirded out by this one, again, for better or
Yeah.
worse. And again, the response to that was far more positive than I thought it would be. But yeah, that was just another. I felt like if we're going to release three singles, let's release three songs that kind of are totally different from one another and sort of encapsulate as best we can the spirit of the album, so that people kind of know that like, okay, we're going to get a lot of stuff on this record. There's going to be some diversity, and it's going to sort of run the gamut. Um, so yeah, that was kind of how we picked them, I guess, and we got to live with it now.
I
Hopefully, people are
mean,
interested.
yeah, I mean, look, you, the internet, that's all you need to
Right.
do. Like, do you know what I mean? There's the people there.
Sure.
I think someone put something on the internet the other day saying, "Oh, I listened to such song, it was crap," and it was like,
Yeah.
"Well, you only listen to 30 seconds of it." It was like, "Oh, I listened to 30 seconds to it." I was like, "The song's 12 minutes long, and you're saying it's crap, but you can't." Do you know what I mean? People just,
Right. Of course. Yeah. I never take reviews personally. I find music, just music critics in general and reviews, like it's kind of weird to me as an artist. I'm like, ah, it's so subjective.
yeah,
I'm like, is it helpful for anybody? Like, I never watch music reviews or read them or anything, because if it's something I'm interested in, especially in the streaming age, I'm just going to listen to it and see what
yeah,
I think of it. I don't really care what anybody else. So, the reviews have been mostly positive. Admittedly, I look at reviews of our stuff just because I'm interested in what people
yeah.
had to say, but. I read a really negative review yesterday. I told my wife earlier, I was like, I love reading the negative
Do
reviews. They
you?
just, I'm more entertained by those.
Yeah,
Yeah, just because I just love when somebody just shits all over like what we're doing, because they're usually critiquing like the things that kind of make us who we are. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Like they'll be like, oh, it's too excessive. It's too experimental. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's kind of what we do.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
you either like it or you don't. But I
And I
guess this
think
person doesn't like it.
those
So
people like obviously probably haven't followed your career. Like, do you know?
right, or they've already made up their mind that like a
Yeah,
certain era of the band is their favorite, and that
yeah,
nothing will ever top it. And a lot, frankly, I mean, there's a lot of bands for me that are like that. So it's like there's a lot of people that are like, oh, they'll never do anything better than Colors or whatever, and that's
yeah,
fine. Like if that's your jam, like great. I mean, we just went over to Europe and they wanted to hear Colors. It's like
yeah,
almost 20 years ago, and we're like, okay, I guess. So I get it. That's what resonates with you most, and like everything else. Once we evolved from there, it
yeah.
went in a direction that maybe you just don't like. But it's like, as artists, we're not going to keep writing Colors.
No,
We're interested in doing other stuff. We have more to say than just Colors or whatever. So I totally get it, but it still makes it for a funny like reading experience or whatever for me as because they're always like, just saying that we've gone off the rails, and I'm like, well, good. That's what we that's what we wanted to do. So we're trying to go off the rails. We don't want to
yeah.
be.
Well, but every
Um,
band has to evolve. Otherwise, you're just
you
going to, like
got
you
to,
said,
right?
you can just do colors one,
Yeah.
two, three, four, five, six, and do you know that's no, it's no good for you as artists who are looking to push
Yeah,
yourself.
and it's like for people like that, I mean, it's like, well, you can never do the right thing. It's like,
Yeah,
well, if you keep writing the same record, then you're just doing the same thing over and over again, and you're uninspired and blah blah blah. But then if you evolve and you try new things, then you've gone off the rails, and you're pretentious, or you're whatever. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't,
yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah.
So from that's kind of why I just find reviews like not all that valuable. I guess some people, I mean, there's a huge market for it, right? Like there's reaction videos, and
Yeah.
reviews are obviously very watched on YouTube and whatever. And I guess they're interesting at face value, but I don't know how influential they are. Like, does somebody read a review and say, I'm not going to listen to that record, or vice versa. So I don't know. Maybe they do. I'm probably totally out of touch,
Well,
but
potentially they do. I mean, I'd be like you if someone said, "Oh, the new Behemoth album's crap. Don't listen to it." I'd be like, "Well, I'll be the judge of that." You know?
exactly. Like, well,
Yeah,
I like Behemoth, so let me check it out. You know what I mean?
exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah, make
And
them.
coming on to just what you were talking about there, the new album has got loads thrown at it, and I've sort of listened to the album. I'm in double digits now, I think, and
Wow.
I think personally. as a big fan of the band, you'll never listen to Between the Berry album once and go,
Right.
I get it. Like I've never heard anyone say that. Like, and for me personally, when Colors 2 come out, I was so excited because Colors, and it took me, I mean, probably a year, if I'm being honest, of
Yeah.
leaving it coming back to actually fully appreciate it. And
Sure. Yeah.
I think I'm trying. I think Paul, you're always going to have Colors as that is your benchmark
Sure.
as a band,
It's
and
the magnum opus. Yeah.
exactly. I actually think Colors 2 is a fantastic record. I
Sure.
absolutely love it. And I'm with the Blue Nowhere, I'm sort of wondering, is this on par with Colors 2 or is it better? And I'd love to hear from your point of view where you think this record stands.
Well, I always think the new stuff is the best stuff, because it's um probably any artist is like that, I guess, but it's the most reflective of kind of like where we're at right
Yeah.
now, creatively, personally. It's just such a great representation of like the current, inspirations of the band, influences, everything. So we're super proud of it, and so it's my favorite. Um, I did one interview recently where the guy, and it was actually pretty exhausting. The guy made me rank our albums, from my favorite to least favorite.
All of them.
Um, yeah,
Oh,
it's hard to do with your own stuff. It's like
yeah,
weird,
yeah.
super weird, because you
What
have
was
like
the
these.
last out of interest?
What was the least favorite? My least. Well, it was the first one,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's like, well, yeah, it was freaking 25, 26 years ago.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, I don't even play like that anymore. Like it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
so, but there were some in there that were kind of. It wasn't all chronological,
Right.
backwards chronological. There were some that kind of snuck in there, but yeah, I mean, Blue Nowhere for me is right. It's my favorite. You know what I mean? But um again, it's just such a subjective thing, right? Like it's just like I like, and I know Colors is like, again, like you said, like everybody's here. I like Great Misdirect better than Colors. I love the Great
Oh,
Misdirect still. I think that's such a cool for us. Like it was such a dark and sort of moody album. I really loved it, but and of course Parallax 2 is up there for sure. But I think Blue Nowhere, I don't know, man. I think I love the diversity of it. I love that we've um just ventured into like legitimately kind of new territory,
yeah.
production wise, instrumentation wise. I feel like I think we've gotten better at knowing when to pull back a little bit with, especially with guitars and stuff, to make room for other
Yeah.
instrumentation, to make room for vocal harmonies, to make room for other, things to shine through. Um,
I mean,
we've
Dan's bass
experimented.
being one on this record. Dan's bass is a lot more prevalent in section.
Very
Yeah,
prominent, and some songs are driven by the bass.
yeah,
Things we tell ourselves in the dark is like a very bass-driven song, and it's like the instrumentation actually in that song is a great example. Like we're kind of playing hot potato with all the little lines. It's like this guitar does this, and then this guitar does this, and then the bass does this, and the keys are doing this. There's like, yeah, I think we've just gotten so much better at orchestrating, instruments and stuff like that. So, um, colors, like we didn't know what the hell we were doing. That's I mean, it came out great, but it's like we didn't. Sometimes, like that original mix, like keyboards at times are can't even hear them. It's like, but they're in there doing stuff. But so I think we've gotten better at kind of hearing the way or executing like what we really hear the end product to be, like the vision. I think we're getting better at executing the overall vision of what we had in mind for these albums. And so Blue Nowhere is kind of the peak right now for that.
it
And
sounds
I do love the songs. I think the songs are constructed really well. There's just kind of that, there's like that balance of like it's heavy, it's aggressive, but it's really melodic and sweet and somber at times. And there's emotional qualities here or there. There's aggressive qualities here and there. So it just to me it's like it just is indicative of where we're at, creatively as musicians. So
I
I guess
actually
that would
think
put
the
it at the top.
album, and this may sound odd to you, but I actually think this album sounds fresh, like and not a new between the Bird and Me, but I think you sort of closed the chapter on Colors now after writing Colors
Yeah.
2, and you've just gone. This is like almost like just throwing it onto a paint, chucking stuff. I think it's
Yeah.
fresh, and I don't know whether the album cover makes me feel that way as well because of the sort of like minty blue on it.
hmm Yeah, the
But
color scheme, it does have kind of a I mean, when we were first working on sort of the design elements and stuff, I thought the color scheme looked like I don't have like synesthesia or anything, but it looked like the sound. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah,
I was
yeah,
like, I love it. You know, and that's a weird thing. Maybe that's a weird thing to say, but yeah, fresh is a good word for it. You know, I think, and the mind, in the state of mind is that, you know, it's like we're kind of doing our own thing. Like we're not trying to be something, you know, or whatever at this point in our careers. It's like this, you know, like let's write what we really want to write. You know, we're very fortunate that most of our fans are kind of along for the ride and
yeah.
they're down with whatever we try to do, which is amazing, which is a great, you know, we're so fortunate. Um, but yeah, like we're just down to we're just doing our thing. You know what I mean? And like I think Blue Nowhere is it is fresh, you know, like truly it is. It's like it is us kind of taking the gloves off and saying, "Hey, let's write what we want to write," you know, and do what we want to do. And because we've gotten sort of better at, like I said, executing kind of the weirdness in a way that sounds good. Like I think we have the confidence now to do that stuff. Whereas before, maybe not so much, you know, but now I think we do.
And I think from a fan's perspective, you may not agree, but I think you, as I said before, you're in your career for a lengthy period now, and I think you've earned the right to sort of say this is what we're doing now. That's come from a fan's perspective. You may disagree
Sure.
with that or whatever, but
No,
um,
I think, yeah. I
that's
mean, I think, yeah, I see totally what you're saying. You know, I mean, we kind of paid our dues. You know,
yeah,
like we've sort of, and that's not to say everybody should like it. No matter, you know, certainly, you know, I don't expect that. But yeah, I think we've been around long enough to where like I don't think we should ever be accused of like abandoning
no,
our roots or something. You know, you hear
no,
that all the time. It's like, man, you know, we've been doing this a long time. We've always been. Um, Progressive, like in the true sense of the
yeah, yeah,
word. Like we've always been trying to evolve, trying to kind of push that envelope creatively, and so we've always been doing that. You know what I mean? So if we write a record that's not as heavy as somebody wants it to be, it's like, yeah, you know, that's what we wanted to do. You know, and
yeah.
who knows? Maybe the next record it'll be a death metal record. I mean, I don't know. It won't be, but you know what I mean? But it's like, yeah, I mean, we try to wear our influences on our sleeves and do what feels good to us. And yeah, I think like you said, like I feel like we've earned that, right? You know, we've
Oh
been
yeah,
around long
definitely.
enough and so yeah, we'll keep on doing it
Yeah, well, that's great
regardless
to
of the
hear.
consequences. Yeah,
Listen, I've kept you a while. I've just got two more questions if
that's
you don't
okay.
mind.
Sure. Yeah, no worries.
The first one I have for you is the, I'm making an assumption, but this album is one that could be played in its entirety potentially down the line. You've obviously you played one track at ArcTangent, a new one, and
Yeah,
yeah, um, so you're obviously going on tour soon, and you're gonna, I would assume, add a lot more ones in
play
there.
some a few more. Yep.
Are there any ones on this album that you will find challenging to play live?
Yes. Yeah, I think I was talking, I think it was a different interview. I was trying to figure out which one was the hardest. I think probably just sort of from start to finish, like Psychomantium is going to be a tough one to
Yeah,
execute. Um, it's always hard to tell until you start like digging in. Sometimes they end up being easier than I think, but right now that's the one in my brain that I'm like most anxious. I'm like, oh God, how am I going to do that? You know? Um, it's just got a lot of it's just a
yeah,
lot going on. Like technically there's some pretty hard kind of technical riffs in it. Um there's also some like just sonic, like sound wise, like getting the right sounds, the right tones for certain parts in a live setting,
Yeah,
will be a little bit of a challenge. But those are kind of fun challenges, I guess. But I think right now that's the one that I'm like, oh boy, that's gonna have to put some time in on that one. Gonna have to really,
uh,
hang out in here for hours at a time and try to get that one like under my fingers. Um, and honestly, technically, like Absent Thereafter is probably the hardest song, but
really,
bec yeah, probably just technically on the
right.
guitar. But because most of it was, I mean, I've been like some of those riffs I've been playing off and on for like 10 years, so um, so I feel pretty good about that one. But objectively, like it's probably the hardest. It has a lot of fast stuff. The solos are pretty technical and stuff, but I'm not too worried about that one. But yeah, Psychomantium, I'm like, ugh, that one's gonna be tough.
I look forward to seeing a video on YouTube of you wincing like that on stage.
I will, 100%. If I'm not wincing outwardly, just know that inside I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
God,
yeah.
what have I done to myself here? Why did I write this? But
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Why did you write such a difficult song?
I think of that all the time. Trust me.
Um, Final question for you, Paul. I just want to thank you so much for
Yeah, absolutely. It's
taking the
been
time.
lovely. Yeah,
Um,
been wonderful.
it's they always say never meet your heroes, but I've done
Yeah.
the interviews I've done. Every single one I've met have been just absolutely lovely, like yourself. So thank you, Paul.
Well, thank you. And most people are I feel like most people are pretty cool,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, but it's not. And Lisa spoke very highly of you, and she was dead on the
Ah,
money. You're a lovely, she said you're a lovely chap, and you certainly are.
wow. That's Lisa was when we started this podcast. She was the first um, publicist to send us a promo. So
Oh, wow.
I always remember Lisa for that. And
Yeah, she's very sweet.
she's
Very always been very kind to us.
probably a bigger Between the Bird and Me fan than I am. So,
She said the opposite. She said you were the bigger fan.
oh really?
You guys are gonna have to duke it out,
We'll have to have it up. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just final question, Paul, and it's nothing to do with Between the Bird and Me actually. It's actually to do with sometime in February.
Oh,
Uh,
sure.
what do you think of the new album?
I love it. I think they're great. And they played a great set at ArcTangent. They had a great response. First
Yeah,
band in that tent. I thought they did great. They sounded great. Um, great dudes, great players. Tristan's obviously, I'm a little biased, but
yeah,
he's
yeah.
awesome. Just super talented and can't wait to see. And they just played Prague Power actually a few days ago in the US, which is a
Oh,
big
cool.
prog fest down in Atlanta. That's
Nice.
always well attended and they did very well. Crowd was
Yeah.
great for them and stuff. So yeah, love them. I think the album's great. I think in that sort of instrumental prog world, like they hold up. It's like it's right up there with all that stuff. And they're only going to get better. I think.
Yeah.
Because they're still young. I mean, Tristan's 26 years old. I feel like
Jeez.
he musically he's going to evolve and keep getting better. And he's already amazing, obviously. And I can't wait to see like where they progress
I
to,
mean,
and
I was
then
watching
and then
him.
of course we love having him around here too
Do
in
you know,
BTBAM
I
camp.
was watching him during both sets, and just he was sort of like at the back left. He was sort of
Yeah.
coming in and out a bit. I don't know whether it
Oh
was.
yeah.
I don't know whether you sort of said, "Oh, you stay back there. This is my spot here." But
We
no.
give him free reign. We give him free reign. He can go wherever he wants.
Yeah. But he was very sort of, and then I was sort of watching, waiting for like whatever song for the time signature change, and I was like, oh, and he just looked so ridiculously relaxed.
Yeah, that's the first thing we noticed about him when he started playing with us. He's just some people have that comfort, like like he's just a comfortable guitar player. Like he
Yeah,
never looks like he's at odds with the guitar. It just everything. I think a lot of it is just his work ethic, his preparation. Like by the
yeah,
time we're on stage, he just feels good about everything. And also, he's just very smart, so he grasps anything like that, like time signature changes. Um, Song just complexities in a song structure or something that for some people you might have to really explain to him. No, he just gets it. He gets it very fast and so I think that adds to just like by the time we're performing, like there's just this he's just comfortable. He's comfortable with the
Yeah.
songs, and like you said, he never looks stressed out. You know,
That must
I
really
mean,
annoy you.
some of these songs I've been playing for 20 years, and
Yeah.
still every time a part comes up, I'm like, God damn it, I can't play this part. You know, but yeah, it's like nothing to him. It's a walk in the
Yeah.
park. At
I,
least that's what it looks like. Again, I don't know what sort of turmoil is going on inside of him, but
I
he
must
makes
try
it
and
look easy.
I must try and hit him up for an interview actually, and so see what he actually says about
Yeah,
the
yeah.
experience.
Yeah, I mean, he's told me he's like, oh man, that song was a pain in the ass. But again, it's like, man, he just works so hard and gets into the details of everything so much that by the time I see him play it, it's it's like nothing for him. You
Which
know
is
what I
great
mean?
for you,
So
obviously. You don't have to
it's
worry
great.
about. Yeah,
It's an amazing feeling to know that like he's prepared. You know what I mean? He's
yeah,
ready to rock. So
great. Paul, thank you so much again. I feel like I could sit here all night and talk to you, but I know I've got kids to put to bed. You've probably got some practicing to do, so I'm not going to.
I do. I'm gonna practice a little bit and maybe eat some food. I don't know. Gotta start rehearsal. Like band rehearsals start tomorrow, so
Okay.
I gotta cram. And now that
Oh
I've been
well.
hyping Tristan up and talking about how well prepared he always is, now I'm like, am I prepared? I better prepare. So I don't want to get shown up by the kid. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
So
Well,
but yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And like I said, Lisa spoke very highly of you,
ah,
and she was dead on the money. So
thank you so much.
thank you very much for the interview. I hope you continue to enjoy the album. I think there's always nuggets, listen after listen, which I'm sure
Oh
like
yeah,
any BTBAM record, you listen to it a few more times, you hear different things. So
yeah.
appreciate you giving it a listen and checking it out. And yeah, we'll see you soon.
Well, I hope to see you live
We'll be
soon.
back over across the pond before we know it. So
That'd be great. And
yeah.
yeah, 100%. Paul, thank you so much for your time and good luck with rehearsals. Um, sounds like you're going to need it. So best of luck.
My pleasure, and thank you very much. And yes, I will. I will
Thank
need it.
you,
I need
Paul.
all the help I can get. All right.
Cheers,
Take
man.
care,
Good
brother.
evening.